But with the 1 down, 5 to go sort of thing, it's basically saying it's talking about the Infinity Stones. So the Collector playing a bigger part in this sort of idea. And I remember I had a theory a while back saying the idea of what if the Collector was kind of maybe he wanted either the Infinity Stones to himself, or he's just kind of like a pawn in Thanos' sort of plan to kind of have the Infinity Stones sort of thing. Either way, it builds up the idea of the Infinity Stones and the Infinity Gauntlet and Guardians of the Galaxy and Infinity War and all sorts of crazy cool stuff like that. All right, we're near now final 5 on my list. Now, number 5 is time travel. Deadpool 2. As much as I really love the first Deadpool credit scene, this one is really a lot funnier because it really plays with a lot of more ideas. It kind of decides, you know what? We kind of played it a bit. Well, I don't know if Deadpool played it a bit safe, but Deadpool 2 decides, you know what? We're gonna have cable. We're gonna have time travel. So we're gonna travel through time and all those other things. So not only is this funny because this is something this is the sort of stuff in the events that Deadpool basically goes back in time would be something Deadpool would do, but that makes it even more funnier. Because not only does he go back in time, he takes Cable's like literal quantum realm like time watch basically, and he goes, okay, so he goes back in time, he saves his girlfriend, he's got Vanessa back, so he's like, you know what, I don't have to worry about my girl being up in heaven alone, and I have this insecurity, and I have this issue where I don't have my significant other. So he decides, I'm going to take this a little bit further. He decides to basically erase X-Force from existence. Sure, that's kind of that's kind of like, oh, but people wanted to see X-Force. But it's funny because the fact of it's basically Deadpool's like, nope, we don't want X-Force because that creates a franchise and that's going to create money and that's going to create like sequel fatigue and all sorts of things and blockbuster hits and franchises and basically poking fun at that idea and that we don't need a franchise. We just need our 2 Deadpool movies and we're fine. We don't need to expand this, make this a big cinematic universe. We don't need to go any further with this. We're done. We finished our movies right there with 2 movies sort of thing. It's funny like that. So there's that. That makes it funny. There's my 2 favorite ones of all, the best ones of all, is not only is Deadpool going back in time to shoot Ryan Reynolds in the head from reading the Green Lantern script, but you can see the bullet wound, bloodshot through his head, and you see Deadpool through it, and you can see the Green Lantern script is covered in blood, and basically Deadpool has this look that says, "You're welcome, Internet. And you're welcome, world." Because Green Lantern was a horrible movie. And Deadpool, since Ryan Reynolds plays Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds played Hal Jordan, that terrible 2011 Green Lantern movie. He's going to be like, you know what? We're going to go with it. We're going to go all the way out with this. And the fact that they're using Cher and using a Cher song is funny. It makes it even funnier. The song they use is even more fitting, and the best part of all is when he annihilates Weapon 11 from X-Men Origins Wolverine, a very hated X-Men movie, a guilty pleasure of mine, but even though it's a guilty pleasure of mine, I still see where people hate it. I don't like some of the things it does too, but people really hate X-Men Origins Wolverine. One of the reasons being Weapon 11, a.k.a. Deadpool, and he wasn't Deadpool. That's another story. Point is, that wasn't Deadpool. Deadpool murders that Deadpool, and he's just sitting there just murdering the shit by just blasting him with his gun. But what I love best is when it's like the super duper cut that they made for Deadpool 2, where where Ryan Reynolds improvised different lines for different scenes and stuff like that. So one of the things was he's looking right at Wolverine. He's looking right at Hugh Jackman, and he goes, you know, some people are gonna tell you to get off the horse, but you tell them your friend Wade told you to get back on that saddle. And then Wolverine's like, okay, and he just goes, love you. And it's so Deadpool. It's funny. That I love. Because obviously Deadpool being like sort of this character that has an affair for both men and women. And it's funny how flirtatious he is with Wolverine. It's perfect in that little way. And I love it. Everything a little about it. So just all those little scenes put together as credit scene is really funny. Sure, it doesn't tease another Deadpool, but who cares at this point? But it's really funny. Number 4, all the post-credit scenes from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This was hard for me to pick, so I went with all the credit scenes that they had, because they basically put in like more than one credit scene for this movie. I don't know why, but they just did it because you're like, yeah, let's do this, yeah, let's do that, let's do this, let's do that, bam, bam, sort of thing. So they start with like the montage. It's not really a montage, but you hear in the background during the credits like David Hasselhoff singing this Guardians song. I guess they made for the soundtrack. But anyways, so one credit scene being that Kraglin, that one Ravager, has Yondu's fin, mess with the arrow, stabs Drax. Pretty funny. Stanley, rest in peace. Hanging out with the Watchers, telling him, like, he's telling stories about, like, hey, you know, I'm basically telling you about the fact that I was in this cameo and that cameo, and I was a FedEx guy. Basically, Civil War post-credit scene. I was doing this, I was doing that. So kind of like that was sort of really funny. And the fact that there is a possibility that what if Stan Lee, like, being in the MCU was a Watcher? So that's kind of cool. And him hanging out with the Watchers is pretty cool. So that's another one. What was another one they had? Teenage Groot being Teenage Groot going, I'm Groot, me, playing with his little video games like, I'm Groot. And then Star-Lord just like, I'm not that old. He's like, you know what you're talking about. So that's funny. But I think the really two good ones that really get me excited for another Guardians has to be I wasn't a big fan of the antagonists, the Golden Girls I call them, but like what were they called? I don't remember. But like it was like Aisha and whatever their golden people were. I wasn't a big fan of their villains, they're kind of forgettable to me a little bit. I love the fact that they use their ships like Galaga, like little arcades. But other than that, they were forgettable for me. But one thing I do think that kind of redeems them a small percentage is, here's the one leader of the Golden Girls going, we have something that can destroy the Guardians of the Galaxy, something perfect, something powerful, something that'll destroy the universe and everything. Talking about, and we see the cocoon, we see this big like vault, sort of like cocoon-like shaped thing, and it is basically teasing the character Adam Warlock, and maybe foreshadowing, we can maybe see not only just Adam Warlock as an antagonist, later protagonist, but maybe we could see Magus, who's basically like an evil Adam Warlock. So that's always that, and just having that character show up in the MCU would be perfect. And seeing like Sylvester Stallone, seeing Ving Rhames, seeing Michael Rosenbaum, I don't remember the other actress, that weird Doctor Strange like weird alien dude, and that head thing, don't know what that was about. But those 6 guys basically saying, you know what, I know it's a shame that Yondu's death kind of brought us together, but you know what, we're gonna steal some shit. We're gonna kind of bring the gang back together and whatnot. And that's really cool because not only is it that basically it's Sylvester Stallone has his own team of Guardians of the Galaxy, but those characters that they played, not only was it cool that they were different Ravager like groups or tribes or whatever you want to call it, but they were pre-existing characters of the comics. So Stallone's character is a being called Starhawk. The girl in green her name's Alita. She has basically like an association with Starhawk, the name Starhawk. Ving Rhames is Charles 27. Michael Rosenbaum being that weird isolated crystal dude. He's holy crap, who is he? Shh, give me a second. I know this. Martin X. That weird Doctor Strange alien lizard thing, he's called Kruger. That's all I know about him. He gave the big thumbs up, like, bing! That head, her name's Mayframe. I don't know why it's Hannah Montana. I don't know why it's Miley Cyrus. That I don't understand, which is weird. But, I don't know, to be quite honest. But, those characters they basically are, those people plus Yondu, well, obviously, not not now, but obviously Yondu's dead. But if Yondu would have been alive, those characters together were the original Guardians of the Galaxy. Because before the comics made Star-Lord, Groot, Drax, Rocket, all these other characters, Gamora, Nebula, all these other people now that are showing up, back in the day, so like the 80s or the 90s or even the 70s, you had like these characters these weirdos like Starhawk, like Alita, like Martin X, like Charles 27, all these crazy like weird aliens, humanoids, stuff like that, weirdos. And they were the Guardians of the Galaxy before the Guardians of the Galaxy were a thing. And so I call them the OG Guardians. So to see these OG Guardians kind of reference and basically saying, hey, maybe we could see these guys somewhere down the line in the future is pretty freaking awesome, especially when you have Sylvester Stallone. So that's pretty cool. Number 3, Tony Stark, the Incredible Hulk. So with the Incredible Hulk, I know it's not the best received. It's got some issues. It's got some things redeeming, some not. But one thing I do like that this movie did was its credit scene. So you see General Thunderbolt Ross, the guy who basically wanted to kill the Hulk. He hates the Hulk, stuff like that. And he's sitting at a bar, and we all of a sudden see the door open, and comes in this. We see like from the feet up, we see, oh my gosh, it's Robert Downey Jr. from Iron Man. Oh my gosh, is this what is this doing? Like back when Incredible Hulk came out. Because the thing was, when Iron Man first came out, they were never planning a cinematic universe. That was not really the big plan. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But at the time, when I first saw Iron Man, I never saw it as like, oh, this is building up a cinematic universe. I remember seeing Iron Man, I was like, that was a good solo Marvel movie. Probably one that's better, that's for sure. Then I see Incredible Hulk, and I'm, wait a minute. I'm like, what's going on? I was like, hold up. I was like, we got Robert Downey Jr. coming into this? I was like, what's going on? And so it's building, so that kind of little moment with Iron Man's basically saying, hey, look, your little project you had going on, yeah, it'd be nice to kind of like get a hold of that sort of thing, like to get a hold of the Hulk maybe. And then Ross was like, what are you suggesting? He gives him that smirk, and I'm like, are we getting something bigger? So at the time I didn't know what this meant, but looking at it back then, looking at it now, has a bigger impact than it did back then, but it still does. That was just really cool. It really was freaking cool to see that. And have that moment, Iron Man shows up, and next you know, it's like, are we setting up the Avengers? Is this becoming a cinematic universe? Oh my gosh, this is crazy. So yeah. Number 2. Now, between my number 1 and my number 2, it was really hard to decide. So I literally had to flip a coin on which one was the better scene, which one kind of had the more impact, what was the more anticipated, the more like exciting, the more not really suspenseful, but in a way suspenseful. And that was, so my number 2 is Thanos from the Avengers. So we see at the end of the Avengers, sure, we have that shawarma scene, which is hilarious. Just because there's no words exchanged. You just hear them eating, and it's pretty good because it just, you don't need to have words exchanged. It's just pretty funny that way. So with that being said, we get a better, more tastier scene in terms of like what the future could be for the Avengers and the MCU, and that is, so we have that weird hooded dude that Loki was talking to that says about, oh, you question our knowledge, you question him. So we're like, so people probably in the audience were like, who's him? Who's this him guy? Like, who are we talking about? Sort of thing. We see like stairs, we see a throne. We don't see who this is yet. So this weird being with this weird Chitauri face, he's kind of got like weird, like he's got like his hands like this, basically. His hands like 10 fingers on one hand sort of thing, 8 fingers, something like that. So he's a weird looking alien. And so he's basically talking to this so-called him. And we're like, who's this him? Who's he talking to? And he's saying about how, oh, challenging death. And then we shall take care of this Avengers threat. And Loki kind of basically was a pawn in all this, and he's kind of failed us. So now you got to kind of do this yourself somewhere down the line. And we see pan to the seat, pan to the throne. We see this guy get up in golden armor. We see a turn, and that purple face is none other than Grimace. No, I'm kidding. It's Thanos, of course. So, Thanos, I remember this was really awesome because of the fact that what's funny is that I thought that the next Avengers, like Avengers 2, would have been Thanos. But then I was like, oh no, then I realized once they did their announcement for Phase 3, I was like, no, they're doing Thanos as their bigger villain after Avengers 2, which has made things even more anticipating and building up the idea of like, okay, now we're going to get the Infinity Stones and Thanos is making his way into the MCU. And finally, we saw him in Infinity War, and after so many credit scenes of seeing Thanos just sit around, that's been the joke. It's like, oh, I wonder what the next post-credit scene with Thanos is going to be. It's probably going to be him sitting around in a chair, just going, yeah, okay, maybe, who knows. But because of that first credit scene in Avengers, we finally got to see Thanos. If it weren't for this scene, we wouldn't have gotten Thanos. But before I unveil my number one pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Let's see. Let me see them real quick. Let me just check. Okay, Cable, the first Deadpool. I love how this is really done because this is done in the style of Ferris Bueller with the whole, you're still here? It's over. Go home. Movie's over sort of thing. Pick up your trash. Don't be a little douchebag or anything like that sort of thing. Don't leave food on the floor, stuff like that. So even Deadpool, and I love how Deadpool acknowledged that. You're waiting for another Deadpool. You're waiting for some sort of credit scene involving Deadpool too, right? Okay, that's cool. So he basically says, I can't say anything, but he name drops Cable. It's just really cool. It's really funny. And I love the sort of idea that they basically spoofed Ferris Bueller. Shawarma, the Avengers. Like I said, shawarma is just that whole scene, them sitting around, eating their shawarma. Whatever shawarma is, if it weren't for this credit scene, I wouldn't have been curious what shawarma is, actually. I'm not going to lie. I never had shawarma. I'm curious what it is. Would it be something I like? I don't know, but I'm curious a bit. But it's that sort of like the fact that everyone's just eating their shawarma, eating their food, mind their own business, and just talking. And it's just, not talking at all. It's just silence, and it's funny. Let's see. Apocalypse. X-Men Days of Future Past. So, I know some people didn't like X-Men Apocalypse, but we did have a sick post-credit scene with this young, dude called Ensabanur, and these Egyptians worshiping him because he's got godlike powers. He's making the pyramids. Who is this guy? Boom! It's Apocalypse with the 4 Horsemen, and it was so epic for me, and I remember being like, oh, that's so cool! Let's see. Thor's Hammer, Iron Man 2. Another movie that wasn't really well received, but definitely had a really cool post-credit scene with Phil Coulson, Clark Gregg, just going, picks up the phone, Nick Fury, sees that, he sees Thor's hammer, and he's like, sir, we found it. Boom. Enough said. I'll do it myself. Age of Ultron. So this is another Thanos post-credit scene. Sure it's not that different or better than the Avengers post-credit scene, but I do love the idea that we do see in Age of Ultron, we see Thanos he takes the glove, he finally takes the Infinity Gauntlet. It may not have the stones, but I'm happy that we saw the gauntlet for the first time in the MCU, and then that whole line of, fine, I'll do it myself. Tease the idea that, hey, Thanos is tired of shit, and he's ready to just take down some people. He's ready to kick ass and chew bubblegum. But he's all out of bubblegum. Winter Soldier, Ant-Man. It's a little bit weird, it's a little bit weird, this credit scene with Winter Soldier kind of being like, I think I remember you guys, right? Steve, Captain America, Falcon. Well, actually, I don't know you yet. What am I talking about? And then Steve's like, oh my gosh, I think I remember you. And then Steve's like, Bucky, you've kind of done some bad shit, dude. We need to get you out of here. And I thought this was, at first this was weird. I was kind of, confused. I'm like, wait, is this, elsewhere? Was this after, was this during or after Falcon, basically trained with Ant-Man in Ant-Man, or what? But then I love how they used this scene and then incorporated it into Civil War. And I was like, that's genius a little bit. And then they kind of do the same thing with Thor in Doctor Strange. When Thor's sitting down with a beer, talking to Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is like, you're another magic dude? He's like, yeah, I'm from Asgard, sort of thing. And they're just having a blast, just laughing a little bit. I love how once you saw that scene in Doctor Strange, they incorporated it into Thor Ragnarok. White Wolf, Black Panther. I love the idea. Sure, it wasn't really heavily, emphasized, but I like the idea that after Black Panther, we kind of see, hey, where's been Bucky? What's Bucky been doing lately? And everything. And we see that he's kind of now, they call him the White Wolf. nice little reference to an obscure Marvel character in the comics, which is cool. I think it would be sweeter if actually if Winter Soldier did become known as White Wolf and he had the White Wolf outfit, like he looked like an actual White Wolf sort of thing. Maybe make like a vibranium suit like how Black Panther's suit was, but like it's white and it's like a wolf suit. It looks pretty sick. But I like it. It was simple but sweet, but cool, but badass. Let's see. Give me a second. Spider-Man is a menace! Spider-Man Far From Home. This one I know might be retconned, and I hope it's not retconned because honestly, this one has to be one of the anticipated Marvel post-credit scenes to date right now. Because just the fact of Mysterio reveals Peter Parker's identity to the world through this fake illusion that, hey, look, it's me, Quentin Beck, Mysterio, I was a hero, Spider-Man is the villain, and Spider-Man, he's Peter Parker, it's Peter Parker, you guys gotta get rid of him, and all this other stuff. And we see J.K. Simmons back as J. Jonah Jameson, and he's like, Spider-Man's a menace, and all these other things, and there's a Spider-Man just going, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble, like, this is over for me, like, it couldn't get any worse. And just when you think that, like, okay, Mysterio's gone, and all this other stuff, He's got Michelle. It's cute. The relationship is really cute, and everything. And it just turns on your head, and it really gets you excited for, like, where is this going to go for Spider-Man? How is he going to avoid this sort of thing? How is everyone against him? Are the heroes going to be against him? Is he not? What's the deal? Like, what just happened? I remember being there, like, sitting there on my edge of my seat, like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And I'm like, no. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. It was the most, like, craziest situation next to, like, one of those, like, oh my gosh, what the hell just happened moment. Like, are you kidding me moments in the theaters next to Avengers, the end of Infinity War. Because I literally, with Avengers Infinity War and this movie, I remember after the scene was over, I was like, what? Oh my gosh! And I screamed it because I usually don't talk a lot or scream a lot or react that much in a theater until like after I leave. But those are those little moments that made me actually just go, you know? Let's see, what was the other one? Now to kind of get things kind of more chill a bit. Fury's secret mission, Spider-Man Far From Home, again. So we see after that scene that apparently the Nick Fury and Maria Hill that had been on Earth that basically were with Spider-Man in Far From Home were Skrulls. So that's cool, but I like this, but at the same time, it depends on how far has this Skrull, Talos, been Nick Fury. Since Captain Marvel? Since Winter Soldier? Captain America Winter Soldier? Since Age of Ultron? Since Infinity War? When has this been? And if it's been since Infinity War, that kind of makes things a little bit more sense because the idea that now Nick Fury has seen Thanos, he's seen the snap, he's seen what happened and everything. So now Nick Fury sort of be on vacation while Talos is kind of basically being Nick Fury going, hey, look, I met with Spider-Man. Cool, he's a great kid, and everything. He's got a young heart, strong heart, so we can use an Avenger like him, sort of thing. And Fury's like, okay, cool. He's wearing like his like Hawaiian shirt, but he's actually like in space with the rest of the Skrulls. So it would make sense if this is after Infinity War, after Endgame, because now he's kind of like, okay, there's beings like Thanos out there. There's things like the Infinity Stones out there. So Fury's kind of got to be a lot more like hiatus and kind of be like away from IRL, basically going, okay, I need to take care of this shit and basically figure out and make sure no other big baddies like Thanos don't ever show up again. That's what he had planned in Avengers with the whole, the Triskelion, with the different weapons that he had planned. That's what he had planned with Winter Soldier, and this is maybe what he has planned now. So I think it would make sense that this is after Thanos situation. So if it's like before that, it kind of really confuses things because then it's like it takes away things that I'll get into another time, but this really piques my interest. But we finally made it. My number one of my top 10 Marvel post-credits scenes is Nick Fury of Iron Man. Now, Sure, it may not sound the most exciting, but when this hit, people didn't know what to expect. And that was the cool thing, is that you didn't expect this little scene, this small scene in a Marvel movie basically going, hey, we're building something bigger, and you know what? We're going to make this awesome. Because before Iron Man, Marvel was owned by different movie companies and movie properties like Sony, Fox, Universal. That's why there's all this crazy stuff with the Fantastic Four, with SpiderMan, and everything else. So everyone was individually was owned by different people. So Columbia, TriStar, Sony's. I could go on and on. Touchstone, Universal, etc., etc. So they were owned by different properties, and there had never been a cinematic universe for these Marvel characters until Iron Man. So with Iron Man being the first, basically the starting, the touching stone, the stepping stool for this MCU was awesome. And to make it even better was to have Samuel Jackson's Nick Fury show up and say, look here, Iron Man, you're a part of a Mrs. Stark, you're a part of a bigger universe. You just don't know it yet. Boom. The possibilities there became expanded and expanded and expanded, and it went for the seed, we wouldn't have this MCU, and if it weren't for Iron Man, it really would have made things complete. So, those are my favorite Marvel post-credit scenes, whether they're MCU related or not. Let me know in the comments if there's any that are your favorites, or if there's any if I forgot. Like, let's say I forgot to mention the one for the Wolverine, that 2013 Wolverine movie, or if I forgot this one or that one. Let me know down below. What's your favorite Marvel post-credit scenes? And as always, guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please smash that button. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I do awesome videos every day of every week. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified of new videos, new content as much as possible. That being said, I'm going to... I don't know what I'm going to do right now, honestly. I might... who knows? Might do maybe another video afterwards. Excuse me. I'm gonna do these sort of like Marvel-related videos before Phase 4 happens. Not too many, because I want to keep things even, where it's like I want to talk about some Marvel content, but also want to talk about some DC content, also things like that. Movies I'm going to review, top 10, more top 10s to look forward to. I'm going to be doing a collab, hopefully somewhere in the future, stuff like that, yada yada. All that fun things to expect. And as always, just bear with us, bear with me on this channel. I think what I'm probably going to do, I don't know about any of the rest of the week, but I know for a fact that Friday, expect a Smash Bros. Video, maybe a live stream, who knows. So that could be a possibility. I'll be at J&T's house. We'll shoot there. And I'll put this on my channel. If that's going to be cool, I think it'll work. I'm excited. Hopefully we can get somebody Switch that has Sans, has Banjo, has Hero, so that way it makes things a little more interesting, makes things a lot more cooler. So, with that being said, also the content coming to this channel. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.